All right, it's Wednesday. Two things in the gaming news world I want to talk about this week. Actually, just one thing. I'm currently traveling. I'm checking out a video game behind the scenes that I'll talk about more soon. But today I wanted to finally talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 a little bit more. Because at this point, I've completely ran the course. I've played through it. I've kind of moved on. I did the before you buy for it on Game Ranks, of course, where I recommended it, but with some caveats. Ultimately, long story short there, and here, I still feel very strongly that it's not as good as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 that released a few years back. There's more compromises with this package, and I think it's important to call some of those things out. Now, I've taken a while to kind of make this video because I haven't known how to really approach this, right? Because on the one hand, it cuts corners, it strips away some of the soul of 3 and 4, it's missing content that I genuinely feel should be in this if they're really representing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, right? And then on the other hand, I had fun playing it. I played through the whole thing, I did the pro goals, I did all that, because I'm just a sucker for Tony Hawk, right? I'm a diehard fan. I've been playing since the very first game. I love these games, and I'm at the point now in my life where I never thought we would see more of these. So here I am playing one and having a great time while also wanting more from it, or really demanding more. Like for right now, okay, whatever, I'm happy to have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 levels with this quality gameplay. But from here, after 3 and 4, I don't want them to remake something like Thug because I don't think they'll really want to do it justice. I'd rather at this point have them make new Tony Hawk games in general. Which again, I have issues with it, but also that's a compliment in a lot of ways. So really, long story short, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, right? 1 and 2 was the gameplay I love, right? The gameplay, fine-tuned, the perfect, best example of it. Really pioneered from 4, right? You have spine transfers, reverts, manuals, all this shit. You have that gameplay packaged in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So it's the gameplay I loved in classic nostalgic levels. Now, 3 and 4, this new one, is the gameplay I love once again in classic levels, some of which I love even more, but in a bit of a different structure. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, of course, it's been talked about a million times. You've probably seen a bunch of other YouTubers complain about this. Career mode is stripped out of 4. It's got some things here and there, some goals, some objectives that I think carry the feeling of 4, but ultimately it's not the same. And Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4's career was not perfect. I think if anything, I think Andy THPS said this in his video, and he made a really great point, where 4 was really broken up. It was like a staccato experience, because every time you completed a goal, an NPC said, "Congratulations," and then it's and it's them just clapping for an hour, and it's you got a stat point. Would you like to save the game? Okay, and it's a very slow thing. So a new version of that, if they really did career mode here in 4, they could have done a great job with it. And I think that's the hang up with some people, is that it's missing, and yeah, some of the old career mode stuff wasn't even that great, but they could have done it better here. And they chose not to. They chose to keep it to 2-minute style objectives. And, it was good enough that I had fun playing it, but good enough, I think, is not really the phrase I should be using for a franchise I love so much. I actually feel with 4 specifically, and I say that because 4 is one of my favorite games, right? With 4, it loses some of the addictive nature in a lot of ways. You still have some of those exciting goals and finding the secret tape, and you're cramming a lot in 2 minutes if you're keeping the timer at 2 minutes in 4 because the levels are bigger. But I think just especially before you unlock the pro goals, you're not finding some of those same fun objectives now. You're not doing the combo goals as much. And then when you get them in the pro goals, they just don't feel as great as they used to. But I still had fun playing it because the levels are so good. I love Alcatraz. It's a level I spent hours and hours and hours in back in the day, and it's really greatly represented here. I could go on and on about the levels. I kind of did in the Before You Buy video, but I think these are still just such a testament to the gameplay. Controls in games like this really do matter. And that's what makes these stand apart. They're so tight, so fun to play, so reliant on instinct, muscle memory, player expression as you go along these lines, that it just shows how much controls really do matter. Because look at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, the one everybody forgot about when they tried to do like an HD remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 with levels from some of the earlier games. That was a bad game. It controlled awfully, like terribly, and that's why people didn't like it. Here now, again, it's fun to play. There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of nostalgia, but it's missing things, like the Canadian guy peeing in the Canadian map. Some of the objectives are a little scaled down, a little less edgy. So it loses that personality, it loses that feel. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remake of that, it had that a little bit, but also those original games were so basic that it wasn't really that big of a deal. But now with 3 and 4, where 3 and 4 was where the series started to get a lot of, cool personality and vibe injected into it, now, because they tried matching it up with 1 and 2, it doesn't feel quite right. But I think aside from that and like the character creator not being that great, look, there are a lot of complaints. Again, I'm just talking as somebody who, I didn't get a review copy. They didn't send me a review copy or anything. I just went out and bought the game, and I've been playing it, and I had fun, and I got my money's worth. Ultimately, I think I'm really recommending it to casual fans. I think if you were like, oh, I love those games back in the day, and you're not like a psycho like me who continued to replay them, you're probably gonna have a great time. You might be listening to this video being like, what the hell is he on about? It's cool, man, just relax. And yeah, it is pretty good. And I think that's worth pointing out, right? Like everybody's experience, everybody's gonna go into this differently. Another positive I do really, really want to highlight is I love the new maps. So here, Iron Galaxy is the developer on this, and I wasn't sure how they were going to fare with this. I still will never forget they screwed up the Batman Arkham Knight PC port, but I think they did a good job, and I think that maybe they just didn't have enough time or budget, and that's ultimately why some things are cut and some things are missing. But I think where they got to flex their muscles and make new levels, it shows something pretty damn good. The 3 new levels are fantastic. Water Park is a lot of fun. It feels like a spiritual successor to Alcatraz and all the different little doorways you can go to very quickly get to higher elevation. The pinball level is cool and creative and wacky. It's less fun to skate, but just as like a visual feast and weird goals, I enjoyed it for that. And then the movie studio I just found awesome for long ass combos and just great lines top to bottom. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, very good. Not great. A lot of things worth calling out, especially in terms of like, if you're a consumer and you expect a lot, and especially if you're a nostalgic consumer who wants all that shit, there are problems here. I do kind of want to pivot to the future now, because we're at a point where I think this game is doing fairly well. They marketed the hell out of it. I was actually surprised how much they pushed this thing in marketing and social media. So I'm really wondering like what the future of the franchise is, right? A lot of people are thinking, now are they going to remake Tony Hawk's Tony Hawk Underground? And I love that game so much. I love Thug 1 and 2. Are they going to do that? I don't know. I really, really don't know. Just because of how they've sanded the edges off of these games, I really think that if we saw a Thug remake, it would be a spiritual remake. It would feel different story, different personality. I don't think they would fully spend so much money to just accurately recreate something that was like a time capsule of the early 2000s, from presentation to brands to clothing to skate culture, With 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, they show that they do want to change things up. They want to add new skaters. The roster in 3 and 4 is huge. I absolutely love that. They want to change the music. I think that there was not enough original tracks in this one, but I like modern choices like Danny Brown and stuff like that. Very cool. But I think honestly what I would like to see them do is make a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. Just a straight, simple, fun game. They have the gameplay. The core gameplay fundamentals are so good, so just keep running with that and find a new way to explore how you play in these games, right? Maybe it's a hybrid of something like a Tony Hawk's Underground and American Wasteland or something like that. Just because I think they made some really cool levels here, and if they were given the time and budget, they could do something, because there's so much potential, because we had a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 and we saw how that, that potential was absolutely squandered, and it resulted in a terrible game that sometimes I even forget exists. I actually like to just say that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 never happened. So here, maybe they can make a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 or something, but I would just like to see more. And ultimately, the only other thing I wanted to point people to in this video is, if you're like me, you got some hang-ups about 3 and 4, some comment sections, some forums, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Reddit, some people are even more fired up about the butchered career mode in 4 and stuff like that, right? So what I would say is that at the very least, seek out other experiences. If the big corporation ain't gonna give it to you, the fan scene is. Thug Pro, if you have a PC, is probably one of the best ways to play Tony Hawk. It has everything. It's built off the bones of Tony Hawk Underground, but like just lets you go absolutely wild. There's so much to it. Fans have done a ton with it. I fire it up every once in a while, and I never regret it. That is something you should absolutely seek out. It's very easy to run depending on your PC or whatever you even got. Along with that, the fans are doing that with like American Wasteland and stuff. There's like a rethought. I forgot what they called that project, but they're out there. There are other Tony Hawk experiences. People do run with this stuff. And whatever next Tony Hawk game Activision tries to make, I just hope they bring back the downhill luge and the baseball mini games and weird shit like that. Regardless, look, I've talked a lot about Tony Hawk. You could tell I'm probably pretty divided on it. I just had to turn the camera on and yap about it because, you know, I played it for 3 weeks straight, and then as I was playing other games for review, I just kept going back to it because that's what I do with these games. I got my money's worth, I enjoyed it, but I want and demand more, and I hope next time they can deliver. But again, I'm a pretty like butthurt fan up my ass about some specific things. Maybe you're having a great time playing through it. I know some friends that just bought it for some nostalgia. They're having fun. So either way, I definitely know like what camp you land in with this. Let's talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, and honestly, what you think comes next. That's what I kind of want to talk about at this point. The game's been out for a bit, so where are you at with the future of this franchise? Are you like me? Do you want Iron Galaxy to take another crack but make their own thing? Or are you still hardline, no, just remake Thug? I think the reality is setting in for me that I don't think a Thug remake would turn out the way we would want. But hey, we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I'm just glad that Tony Hawk is back in the conversation because these games are just fun as fuck to play. I'm just as addicted now as I was when I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 when I rented it from Blockbuster. So that's good for something, right? And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just talking about stuff I love and stuff I find interesting. So let me know in the comments, like I said, any of your thoughts of my questions I posed to you. But also, if you get what I'm trying to do here, I'm just yapping about stuff I like. Clicking the like button helps me out. But that's it. Back to work for me. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.